Hi friends, hope you're having a lovely day today. Today I want to share with you a New York Times article that I came across about the anti-drug campaign that's happening in the Philippines right now. And I was so compelled by this article, and the reason why is because it's a great example of why photojournalism is, and always will be a vessel for telling stories that matter in a way that is non-forceful and very empathetic. So I want to talk about it a little bit and kind of go over why it's so compelling, and also why a skilled photographer is different than a person with a cell phone. So let's check that out. Okay, here we are on NewYorkTimes.com. There are two things that I want to note very quickly about this article. The first one being that the design and the user experience of this article is spectacular. For somebody like myself, who reading is a bit more of a mechanical experience, this was beautifully done. Excellent job. The second thing I want to note is there are some graphic images here. They're not horribly graphic, but they are graphic. And I think that it's important to see these photos sometimes, not to dwell on them, but so you can understand what's going on and feel what's going on. So the first thing you see in big letters is "They are slaughtering us like animals." Below that you see "Inside President Rodrigo Duterte's brutal anti-drug campaign in the Philippines. Our photojournalist documented 57 homicide victims over 35 days. Photographs and text by Daniel Berehulak." So when I experienced this photo that you see here for the first time, I saw it on a newsstand on the front of a newspaper, and I noticed this beautiful use of light and composition and the mood of the rain in the alleyway. And I thought, such a wonderful photo. I'm so glad it made it on the front of a newspaper. It was not until I came home later and rediscovered this photo that I realized that there was a body in the photo. So I experienced this photo two different ways. And this touches on a concept that you will see throughout this article, which is there is a difference between a photojournalist who has grown his craft over years and somebody with a cell phone. Both are valuable, but both should be respected as such. So the basic idea of what's happening in the Philippines right now is you have people on motorcycles wearing hoodies riding up to people walking down the street, and also going into people's homes and shooting them in the head. The people in the hoodies are police officers, and the people they are shooting are people who are suspected of being associated with drugs in one way or another. And there's an obvious inherent issue with this, which is there is a lack of what we would call in America due process. You have people who are possibly, I'll talk about a story in a second, of somebody who was in the process of cleaning up themselves and going to rehabilitation, but the police got to them before they made it, and now they're dead. That's one issue. Another issue is this is a freaking heartless and unloving way to deal with a drug issue. And also, you have situations where common logic would lead you to think that you would have situations where there is a person who is using, and then there is a friend that is with them that also gets shot that had nothing to do with the using. Possibly didn't even know that their friend used. And it's gross. It's gross. So, but the way that Daniel is capturing this is unbelievable. The way that he uses his photographic skill is amazing. Like I said, he plays with light in a beautiful way. He uses composition. He uses mood, and he uses these scenes to his advantage. And you notice just the way he frames people in this shot really tells a story. And what photojournalism does when it's done well is it does not push a narrative. It only requests for you to think about what the narrative is, to consider, to think about what is going on. You can have beautiful photos with no text, and it takes you to a place in your heart where you have empathy, and you're trying to make sense of it. And that's a good place to be. That's a good place to be. That's a better place to be than being sold a narrative. Yeah, so one of the issues that's happening because of this is for different reasons, there are mass arrests and there's overcrowding of the prisons to a pretty serious degree, and this is classic photojournalism, a beautiful top-down shot. And I'm so happy that I experienced this story in the way that I did. That I did not experience it from a news report, that I experienced it in a way that set my thinking in the correct direction from the start. It made me think about it the way that I should be thinking about it. So this is the home of the man from the story I was talking about earlier, where he responded to the president's call to go into rehab and clean himself up, which obviously doesn't always work, but he was taking a step, and he did not make it to that step because the police found him and they shot him before he could get there. I could only assume the police didn't know he was going to take that step because there's no process for him, or maybe they knew and they didn't care. But Daniel tends to play with the element of surprise in his photos, and you see that in the photo in the beginning that I was that we first looked at, where I didn't even realize that there was a dead person there, and you'll see that all throughout his work. So yet another level of very creative, thoughtful photojournalism that really makes these photos come alive and really makes them immersive. You'll see that all throughout his work. But I'll stop here, and I'll let you guys kind of dig into the article more yourself. I'd love to hear your thoughts about this. I hope this was valuable to you. I hope that this inspired you, whether photographically or humanitarianly. I don't think that's a word. But yeah. Thank you so much for watching this, if you made it this far, and I hope you have a lovely day. Goodbye.